know a young boy drowned here?
People go missing around here, they're gone for good.
His name was Jason. He was my son.
Oh my God.
And today is his birthday.
And cut.
You have this iconic character, Jason Voorhees, and it was a great jumping off point for us to take this character and think of a way to reintroduce him to a new audience and the old audience.
When you decide to do a Friday the 13th movie, one of the first decisions you have to make is he supernatural or isn't he? And if he's not supernatural, and he's always appearing in places, you have to root that in reality in some way. And we felt that the easiest way to do that was that there are tunnels under this camp, and that's how things happen.
One of my first comments was, create an underground, you know, something claustrophobic, an old mine shaft, something like that, and have them operate from there.
You walk on stage, and there's 150 feet of tunnels, and Jason's lair, which is right here, and you can't believe that you're on a soundstage.
He's an anti-hero. You're rooting for Jason most of the time. I mean, he's the one constant in these films that everybody comes back to see.
I think people latch on to the Jason character so much. He's become such an iconic horror character because he's essentially a victim. And all of us can relate to what happened to him, whether, you know, you were teased or picked on in school, and he gets his revenge, which you shouldn't do the way that Jason does.
No! Oh, come on. I mean, if you're gonna get axed by somebody, it's, you know, Jason. You know, who else would you want to be killed by?
It's all backstory, because really what you do when you do a movie like this is you say, what is it about the mythology that makes people want to make it and watch it over and over and over again?
Originally, him drowning because people were making out. It was a sexual act, so the mother flips out.
They should have been watching him every minute.
Boom! I believe that head fucking just rolled.
Then the mother gets killed, he sees it, so he blames it on sex.
And next.
Oh, God.
It's authentic to who Jason is and the person he is and the character that's been created for the past 30 years.
My character, some other characters, I think we do things that he just sees red. And when he sees red, Jason is, you know, slashing some throats.
Why does this guy do what he does, and where did he develop these skills?
I love making Jason smart and then our hero, you know, smarter.
Help! We got officers down! My keys are gone. Where are my keys?
I think that getting inside Jason's head and seeing how he sort of sets up these kids, they're not just busting through a wall and chopping up with a machete, but really plotting something, you know, horrible. Horrible? Is that a word?
It is now.
That's exciting.
The script is so good, it makes Jason smart. And that scares the shit out of me as a fan. I can't wait to play. Like, wait. That guy just set them up to, holy shit. Oh, I can't wait.
He's using your friend as bait. He wants us to go out there.
It is an interesting journey that he turns into this incredibly powerful, maniacal killer.
I remember Drew, Michael, and myself sitting around saying, does he walk or run? Does he walk? And we'd go back and forth. And once you decide that Jason runs, and once you decide that Jason is a hunter, and he's not an idiot who can't do anything and he's living off the land, he is a physically fit specimen. There was a specific body type that we wanted.
We're making him more nimble. You know, he's built. In fact, there's a torso over here. This is one of the skins, unpainted. He's basically kind of sinewy, thin. He's going to have scars on him. We're going to utilize a lot of Derek's form. It's a very thin piece, so it'll move real freely whenever Derek moves and pushes his chest out, hunches his back. It'll translate through this really nicely.
If I flex my abs, you can see it. So when you get to breathing, and it looks a little weird and natural depending upon what you do with it.
This is a maquette. So this is basically that character right there. Like, this was a very early design idea for the bagged head look. When he has his this kind of cloth hooded look, kind of loosely based on part 2. And instead of just the potato sack, Tim came up with a really cool wrap idea after talking with Marcus and figuring out a design. Something a little artsy design, but kind of haphazardly put together as well.
Since this is a restart, you had to start with sort of Jason's origin. He started with that hood.
We decided early on that we didn't want to create something that people were not used to seeing. We just thought if we could make it a little bit cooler, we would leave that to Scott to figure out, and I think that Scott did. He just colored it and aged it, and the shape of it looks fantastic.
Send emails to the producers and go, do you want to see his mask or his sack? And they'd go, well, what are you talking about? Because there are many versions of mask. There's his face, which could be, considered a mask, his makeup. There's his hockey mask. And then there's his sack. So I'd send him photos of his sack all the time.
We had started with the sack head, and it was so creepy. I didn't need much to get to that point that day. I mean, it's very creepy. It's just like the one eye, and yeah.
How's that? Is that all right?
Mm-hmm. To see him on set it's enough to give you chills. Like, there's nothing nice about the way he looks, the way he walks, the way he moves his body. Jason is terrifying.
It's so surreal to me that I'm actually playing the character myself, being a fan, just seeing the character on the monitor. It's weird because I'm thinking what I'm thinking for myself inside the mask, but then I see it outside. I'm like, that's Jay. Oh, is that me? It's so wild.
Derek's an incredibly physical guy and a wonderful physical storyteller.
Derek is pretty much the nicest person I've ever met, so it's ironic that he's doing such an amazing job playing this character.
This is the best Jason yet, guaranteed. Guaranteed, by far.
It's crazy. We were actually talking about that the other day, just how iconic the movies are, and the whole symbol of the hockey mask. And my grandfather used to chase around my little cousins around the house wearing a hockey mask.
For most days, when he has his signature mask look, which is right here, this is what Derek will look like. That'll be his mask look. It's a little different. I just took the elements that I liked and put them together and re-sculpted it from scratch, and then took the sculpture and molded it, made a stone copy, and polished it and sanded it even more. The sack is only seen for a few scenes, I think the first 5 or 6 kills. Then Jason gets rid of that for the hockey mask. Poor Donnie. We'll go visit Donnie inside. He's sitting on a table right now. Donnie makes some bad decisions and loses his head over it, and Jason gets a mask.
If you're going to do this movie, you got to show him putting on that hockey mask.
It was exciting for us to actually craft that moment, where he discovers the mask. He never really had that in part 3. I mean, it was almost incidental.
A lot of people don't even realize that Jason really didn't show up until the last shot of the first movie and didn't put on the hockey mask until part 3.
Okay, so here's a young man, Donnie, the Donnie character. Yeah, this is how he gets it. He finds his little toy, the hockey mask, and Jason gives him the old grab him by the head, and he then takes the mask off, drops the head, so Donnie's head will take a tumble, but that's Donnie.
Well, in this scene, I just got done harvesting a bunch of marijuana that I found over in the woods there, which is pretty sweet. And I go in and start rolling up a J, reading some of my porno magazines that I love whacking to, and and then old Mr. Mr. Derek comes in, Jason Voorhees.
The original mask scene had Jason coming down the stairs with 2 cans of kerosene and discovering Donnie with that mask, that hockey mask on his face. And it felt to us that there was no build-up to it. No suspense, really. It's just a matter of waiting for that kill. And we wanted that one to feel different, so that's why we went back and spent a whole day reshooting it. So what you're gonna watch now is the original scene as it was intended.
Set. Okay, ready and action.
Oh, shit. No, you don't need that, man.
You do realize this camp was closed down like 20 years ago. Some woman, she went fucking nuts, killed all these counselors, blamed them for her son's drowning. Her son, Jason, he came back. No!
I remember I was a Boy Scout, and I saw early trailers from Friday the 13th, and that got me right away interested in it. Obviously then later at Boy Scouts it was like lore, you know, and here I get to recreate like a campfire conversation just like we had them.
I just found some broken down cabins over there. It's gotta be the old camp.
I was young, it was sort of one of those, bootleg tapes that everybody passed around. I saw it when I was way too young. Please, kids at home, don't watch this. When you wait a few years, for the love of God, there's a lot of nudity, a lot of blood in this film. It's one of those movies that, once it's on tape, that everybody sort of passed it around. And, we loved it.
I remember the character of Jason, and my parents would sit and watch these horror movies, and of course I was way too young, so they were always like, okay, close your eyes now, and I'd sit there going, okay, can I open them now?
You go back and you watch the original one, and they're wearing the Kevin Bacon, his little shorts that barely go down his thigh, and it just got really hot. Anytime I mention Kevin Bacon, I start sweating, so.
The one experience I take away from the first one that I saw, near into the sex scene, they're turned over and they're spooning, and he's just got one hand cupped around your breast. I think I'm gonna put that in. I'm gonna take that, but just one. It's just one cup, and I'm gonna, thank you, Kevin Bacon.
I was 11 years old. I saw it at my friend Rob's house.
Now they're gonna have to clear that guy's name.
That's all right. They'll just put a big sort of black thing over my mouth and be like, plop. But I saw it at his house. Totally not supposed to see it. And the thing that stuck with me the most was when he jumps out of the lake. I squirted in my pants. I was terrified.
You still squirt in your pants.
I
it's
do.
Sort of a bit of a bedwetting thing you have.
It's true, but I'm working on that.
A buddy of mine named Eric and I sat down and watched the movie, and he lived near a park in San Antonio called Comanche Hill, and we ended up going out to Comanche Hill and walking around and going, kind of making the noises and trying to scare each other.
I'm kind of a wimp, so horror movies are hard for me to watch, but this experience helps, knowing that it's just pretend. I have to keep reminding myself of that.
I was always the youngest of my older cousins and my sister and stuff like that, so I remember going to see it with them. I was freaked out, man. Like, but I enjoyed it. It's that how do you call it? It's that guilty pleasure. I really enjoy. That's when I enjoy watching people get scared.
I was young, and me and my cousin were up late one night, and we were watching. It was on television, and I will never forget. The one scene I remember is it's just like this long shot down the road at Camp Crystal Lake, and you just see this guy walk across the street with like a machete, and he has a bag over his head. Like, talking about giving the chills, man.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. I remember I rented a VHS machine, or that parents did, and the first 2 movies that I rented were Friday the 13th 1 and 2. And I'm like, I'm old enough to watch horror movies. This is awesome. And I watched them and I was scared out of my pants.
I went to camp in Maine, and I went to Camp Crystal Lake. It wasn't called that, it was called something else. And it was an amazing experience to get scared shitless from watching these movies. And we all have our Camp Crystal Lake experiences, and so that's why when you get presented with the opportunity to make the movie, it's impossible to say no to it. If you truly are a fan, you can't say no to that opportunity.
I mean, let's face it. These movies are exploitation films when they first started. It's about sex, drugs.
God knows we have a lot of those.
Violence, and boozing. I mean, that's what it is. That's how it started. That's the audience it's for. We totally embrace that in this film, and I think we amp it up like you've never seen it before.
We're partying, we're drinking, we're having fun, but it's a new group of people. It's new and fresh and totally different than the others.
It's a fun movie. I mean, these are kids having sex, doing drugs, and basically having fun. So what you have is a wonderfully vivacious group of kids. And in between it, you have horribly, horribly bloody and frightening scares.
Why do you think there's been 17 installments? I'm kidding. There's only been 12. I don't know. It really is scary to think if there's somebody out there like this lurking throughout the woods.
Oh my God! The slasher films that sort of started the idea of horror films, those are sort of iconic. Friday the 13th being one of probably 2, maybe 3. They're movies that like a person like myself saw when I was a kid, and ever since then, I'm not gonna go camping in the woods. Not that I wouldn't like to, but you always think about Jason every time you go into the woods.
Friday the 13th is a fun horror film. And not all horror movies are fun. A lot of them are torture, and you're not looking at the screen because you don't want to look at someone get their fingernails ripped off or have them put on a meat hook with an insert of a hook going in a back. So it's a classic, fun slasher film. And I think there's always an audience for a movie that, and then you throw in this iconic character who's wearing this hockey mask, and the audience is there for that. They love it.
Our idea was to make it kind of like Batman Begins, which is a reboot, start fresh, make this much grittier, kind of a fast and loose Jason that we have never seen before.
I think any villain, or any true villain in a film, never sees himself actually as a villain. Everyone says that Jason's this crazy evil character. In my mind, I'm not playing it as an evil character. I mean, he's been wronged.
You just won't be left alone, and so does he.
And society has shunned him and constantly done him wrong throughout his life, and he just wants to be left alone, and he's fighting back.
I wanted to definitely keep him more as a human being, as a tragic figure more.
Make him someone that was actually in the woods, surviving like a real human would. He's fast, he's not walking around like a zombie.
If you were raised in the wild, amongst the animals, you're a hunter, you're maybe also a little bit leaner, quicker, and that was maybe the biggest departure we took. I'd like to think that it's still the same Jason, only reveal aspects that haven't been shown so far, that yes, he can be, intimidating at the right moment. He can also be very cat-like and quick.
He's territorial. It's not like he's going around just killing people randomly. I mean, if you invade his territory, he's kind of protecting his turf.
Unlike other movies, this will be the first movie, I think, where you'll see Jason kind of using his brains. And I think that'll be pretty impressive.
He's got a slightly misshapen head, but there are brains in it.
That's true, actually, the misshapen head. This part is all hunter, this part all killer.
Yeah. If you see an overdeveloped hunter area, avoid that guy.
Indeed.
We wanted to show the audience, something of a young Jason and his mother. And, in the first film, his mother is the killer. And I think it was important to us to just give the audience a little glimpse of who Pamela Voorhees was. And just with a flashback, you can see a young Jason, you can see what happens to his mother, and that alone can really show you why he has become what he has become.
They picked a lot of the really good elements of these Friday the 13th films out. Definitely in 1, 2, 3, and 4, and part of 5. There were things that people enjoyed about the film, those films, that I think they wanted to see more of. They wanted to see it expand a little.
Fuck this guy, let's get out of here!
This version of Jason is real. And when you are out camping with your friends, you're not thinking about ghost stories. You're thinking about, is there some crazy lunatic dude who lost his mama living in that tree over there?
I don't know, I just like the newer version of Jason. He's much more frightening because the first time that I saw him, I actually thought to myself, if I really saw this guy in the woods, I might lose it. I might wet myself.
With the design, they basically just said, the only thing that we have input on right now is the iconic hockey mask of what you know it looks like. Tweak it a bit if you want. Don't stray too much from what the real thing is. I said, great, okay. That's good, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Sean Cunningham created just a great villain, and people love to watch him kill. They just love it. I mean, it's just, that's it. And there is something magical in Jason Voorhees, and it transcends everything else.
I think that people can empathize with Jason, and I think that at the end of the day, we all want to kill somebody. There's always something, no, I'm just kidding. You know, he's just one of those guys that, I mean, you know, I love that unstoppable killing machine.
This is huge. You know Friday the 13th is going to be big. Especially when you see who's behind this film, you know it's being done right.
Action! This is the first time you've had a huge producer and a visual wizard that Marcus Nispel is come in and take this franchise, and they're going to elevate it to a place that it's never been before. It's always been kind of low-rent movies that we love, but this is going to be something new, and it's going to be a big jump.
He's a cinematic genius, man. Like, I can't wait to sit down and really watch it, full scope.
I love how in the middle of a scene, if he wants something else, he'll tell you.
You really got to show me fear in this one, okay?
By integrating Daniel Pearl and Marcus together, we kind of felt very comfortable that the movie was going to have a unique and beautiful, rich look. Marcus understands the scares, maybe better than anyone else who I know.
The genre has evolved over the years, and to be able to reintroduce it to a new generation, I think is really exciting.
We really up the ante with some of the kills and get right in your face, and we're showing quite a bit.
It's going to just leave you on a kind of like a runaway train that's going up and down, just like a roller coaster, and it's going to veer off somewhere.
This Friday the 13th is going to reestablish what we felt the first time we ever saw the original Friday the 13th.
It's so cool to continue it and just make it for our generation and be that part of that group that makes it for us.